All right. I think let's jump right into it. Hi, I'm Ashley Coates. Nice to be talking with everyone here today, and obviously with Corey Tanzer. I mentioned in previous weeks, we're going to be bringing on top producing agents, people that are using our product, having great success with it. And Corey is the first in our series to do so. Really excited to be chatting with you today, Corey. If you're not familiar with who he is, and I'll let you do your own intro as well, but Corey is one of the top agents in the Chicagoland area. He runs a team of about 15 agents and has been recognized in Chicago's Agent Magazine as being a who's who multiple years in a row, as well as just finding success with different lead platforms and things of that nature. Really excited to be chatting and hearing a little bit about your expertise, what you're seeing, what we're seeing going into 2026, and how your team has done a really great job of converting these appointments into listings.
Well, that was a great intro. Really good intro of me. So I'm Corey Tanzer. I am the founder of the Corey Tanzer Group. I also own Option Premier, which is a local boutique brokerage in the Chicagoland market. So my story and my team, I always like to tell people, is we are extremely focused on internet leads. I know some people do not like that. We do relationship-based business, but I always say most of my agents that work for me, including my number one and number two producing agents, never lived or grew up in Chicago. So their entire sphere and their entire book of business has been built off of online leads. So this year, we're going to do roughly 100 million in sales. We're about 200 transactions, depending on how we finish. Some may close this year, some may close next year. But when you look at that and you look at the holistic of 200 transactions, and yes, my team is 15 people, but on my team right now, of that 15, we have 5 part-time agents because we do take part-time agents on my team. I'm still in production, but we have 10 full-time agents, and a majority of my team in that 200 transactions was hired over the last year. And Seller Hub is one of the reasons we've expanded rapidly. So for us to start 2025, there were 7 of us, and now there's 15 of us. So we've grown rapidly. I expect us next year to do 300 to 350 transactions, thanks to the help of Seller Hub and other platforms we use. But the reality is a lot of our listings are coming from this platform, which is why I'm happy to talk about it and share my expertise and help you guys through it as well. We are based in 3 parts of Chicago. So any of you guys that are not familiar with it, we have several agents downtown: West Loop, South Loop, University Village, Loop, Pilsen, McKinley Park. And then the rest of our team is broken up into pods, I like to call it. And we have 4 agents in the western suburbs, which is your DuPage County, predominantly cities. And then we have the North Shore, which is Winnetka, Skokie, Des Plaines, Niles up north. And that's another pod of agents. So we take Seller Hub leads across that entire area.
Amazing. So you mentioned that some of your newer agents, they aren't from Chicago. So you're basically using different lead sources, Seller Appointment Hub being one of them, to basically provide them business. Are you fielding what's the process look like for you and your team? Are you fielding them beforehand? Are you just sending them straight through based off areas they cover? What's something that you're seeing works really well when it comes to the handoff? I know we have a couple other team leaders on the call currently. So any sort of, guidance and feedback on what you're doing would be awesome.
So I think every team is different. And that's why I tell every team leader I meet in the field and I talk to across at all these conferences. As the reality is, you're going to run your business how you run your business. I'm still in production, right? People will be like, how are you still in production? And how do you still manage? Because I personally will sell like my own book of business referrals, 30 to 50 units. So I need help. Like I have agents that do showings for me, et cetera, but I'm still in business. So with all that said, you may not run your team like I run my team. But for me, what's effective, and I believe this is a successful model, is I handle the Seller Hub appointment to start. I get the seller excited. I'm the first point of contact. I'm the one reaching out. I'm the one talking to him on the phone. Now, with that said, my process is a little different. Initially, it comes in, as you guys know, it's introduction to you. They give you full, which is amazing. They give you so many details about the house, what the seller has said, et cetera. And they give you full CMA. I review all that. I think like where we fail in the industry is we take online leads, and I have a lot of experience with online leads. That's how I built my business off of another platform that was buyer leads. But where we fail is we get the information and we treat it like a lead. We don't treat it like a referral. If it was a referral, you would go white glove service right away. You'd print it out really nicely. You'd have a beautiful CMA binded. You would sell yourself to that lead. And where I think we fail and why we're successful personally on Seller Hub is we treat these leads as if they're referrals. I reach out, I'm excited, I make them excited. We send them printed materials, we print out materials for them, we get excited. for them. And then when I call them, if it's a phone appointment versus in person are different, obviously. But if I call them and I'm doing a phone appointment and we have a set time, I've already texted with them saying how excited I am to talk to them about potentially helping them sell their house, how we're a local team of experts. I'm going to be having one of my agents that's near them as well on the call. So the way I run it is I make that first call. Let's say the appointment's set for today at 1. I'm going to make that call, and my agent, who's local, and myself are both going to already review the material for the homeowner, be prepared for the homeowner, and know important things, not just about the home, but about the area. Because maybe you get a lead and you don't know the area. So the things that we prepare ourselves with always is, what are the top local parks, schools, restaurants, and things to do in that area near that seller's house, right? Because when I call that seller, and let's just use you, Ashley. Hey, Ashley, this is Corey. I'm so excited to be chatting about your house at 123 Main Street in Lombard, Illinois. Do you have any? I go through the process and how can I help you with the sale? And then they get to, what do you know? That's always what they ask. What do you know about my house? What do you know about the area? And I always say, I know, and personally from my experience, my favorite pizza place is Dominic's Pizza. It's right around the corner from you. And then I love to eat at this and that. And I also, when my son and me are out there, sometimes we'll hit up the playground and we'll toss the football around at Madison Meadows Park. And that credibility of the area stuff instantly gets you like oh, you're not just another realtor calling me, you're actually a local expert. And then my agents that are on the call also are able to add to it as well, because again, my pod is set up. So if it was Lombard, Illinois, it'd be Mike Petrick or Kurt. It could also be Michael Connor. They would be my 3 that would be predominantly in that area. And they would say, hey, I actually live in this town, or I live near here and I'm 5 minutes from you. So I think, again, my process is bring that agent in. So when we have that first real conversation with the homeowner, it's 2 people. You're not just getting 1. If you're an independent agent, totally understand it would just be you. But then again, know the important stuff about the area. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot too when we start having this conversation is, what do you know about the area? Like, how many homes have you sold? Sometimes there's a city we haven't sold anything in. And just being honest, because there's 40 cities in DuPage County. Maybe we haven't sold anything in there in a year or 2. And I say, we haven't sold anything in this town in 18 months or 2 years, but we've sold in the neighboring towns 11 homes, 15 homes, whatever the case may be. Again, it's credibility and adding who you are and being a credible source to them is going to make you win that process. Often the conversation is, why are you calling me? Let's be honest. You guys hear that. Seller Hub contacted me. I'm not sure I want to sell my house. Or why are you calling me? Who are you? But if you come from a place of, I'm here to help you, I want to support you in this, make this a seamless process, really selling them on the ability for you to be a local expert and make this easy on them, that's going to get you an in-person appointment. And I never get off the phone with Ashley, if I called Ashley, without saying, like, when can we meet next? When can I come by the house and meet with you? Because if someone's, let's continue the conversation a week, I'm not getting that conversation. I know that, right? Or they may call me in 6 months, which is okay. But generally, if I get an appointment set for in person, then I'm in, because I know there's all this data out there, but something like 90% of sellers, the first agent they talk to is the agent they go with. That's what the data tells us, according to NAR. So if I'm using that data and I'm going and I'm physically meeting them, I'm going to be the agent getting that listing. And then the best part is when you're a local expert and you can sell yourself, they might be downsizing, so they want to stay in the area. So you might have another Seller Hub lead. You say, hey, we get other leads in this town and you're looking for this, let me see if we can find you something like that out of the private listing network or out of our current database of potential sellers. That really helps you, or you get a referral. I always highlight the fact that Seller Hub's a national program, and I have other realtors across the country that are also on this platform that I can connect you with that could potentially help you in your purchase in wherever city you're moving to. And really selling them at being a local resource, but also a national resource if they're moving nationally.
Absolutely. And something you mentioned that we really stress at Seller Appointment Hub is to make sure that when you get the initial appointment, you get all the information, but to not repeat the same questions and instead focus on providing that value as the local area market expert. So, like you said, you're doing your research, finding out the local schools, the local restaurants, and really positioning yourself as the expertise in the neighborhood rather than just being like, oh, what are you hoping to sell your home for? Or, oh, we got your information. Because obviously with these appointments, there's a ton of information that we spend time gathering and collecting from these clients. And it's more important to position yourself as that local expert, like you mentioned, rather than just saying or repeating the exact same questions we've spent 30 minutes on the phone going over with the agent already or with the client already. Yeah, everything you said, super valuable. And it's always interesting to hear different approaches, especially because every agent does it slightly differently. But from what I understand, you're having a 20-30% conversion rate with these seller appointments. And obviously what you're doing is working. Just as a reminder, guys, because I know we've had a couple people jump on as we're chatting here, feel free to put questions in the Q&A chat. If you have anything you want to ask Corey, or you want something, or if you would like him to cover something specific, there is a Q&A chat here at the bottom that you can put any sort of questions or comments if there's something you're curious about.
And I think, Ashley, you brought it up. Our conversion is high, and I know that, but that's also because I think we come prepared and we treat, again, online leads like referrals. And we generate a lot of business off of the internet out of our online leads. Again, it's what you put into it, and with an understanding that if you're not prepared, if you just call Ashley out of the blue and say, hey, we had a 1 o'clock appointment with Seller Hub, and they say, and your point is what? Most people are like, okay, and what do you want from me? If you don't have some sort of scripting prepared of I'm here to help you in support, or I'm here to help you with the potential sale of your house and make it a easy transition for you to wherever the next step is, if you don't come prepared and you haven't reviewed anything about their house or the area, then you will not get that appointment. I think that's why we get higher. And I think the other point of it is, again, they've already told all that information. So when we were first figuring out online leads, when we would get forms filled out, whether it was through Seller Hub or our Google PPC or other websites, when we would ask the same exact questions, people would be annoyed because they've already spent the time learning or answering these questions. They want to know that two things: that they can trust you and that you'd be great to do business with and you really know the area. That's it. Like, they've already said they need help, but they don't want you to ask them the same question. So don't go through and be like, tell me about your kitchen update. Tell me about that. Get the appointment in person and then talk them through the kitchen update. Once I'm in that house and they said, we update our kitchen, when did you do it? How much money did you spend? Oh, this is really nice. It's in trend. Sometimes people will tell me when I meet them, we update our kitchen and it's updated in 2000. That's not updated. That's not updated. Updated is the last few years. But again, if I asked them that question and I set expectations early on in the process that, like, I'm asking you questions so that I can help you get top dollar, they're more receptive to that when we're in person than me just reading off what you guys have found out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we think of it as a relay race. Like, we've taken you halfway through the track and we found out all this information, and now you take it to home plate, or whatever you want to call it. Also, something you mentioned is that you focus on getting the in-person appointment. Like you mentioned, that if it's a week out, the likelihood of them meeting you might not happen. So give them a call, position yourself as a local area market expert, and just focus on getting in front of them and being the first agent to do. So we talked a lot about, you've mentioned a couple times, you've built your business on online lead providers, and you obviously have a team of agents you provide those leads to. I'm curious how you feel seller appointment compares to some of the other seller appointment sources you currently use or have used.
So it's not even comparable. We have worked with, and I won't name the brand, but they are a large brand. You guys all know them, number one in visited website in the world, and we've gotten seller connections from them. And at the end of the day, these are better quality leads. These are better, more interested sellers. It's not somebody just clicking a button and curious about their home value. And I think that's a big distinguisher. So I think that these are the best quality leads that are out there in the marketplace currently. I also think the support that you guys give us with the initial intake call and form is by far superior. Other online lead sources, in my experience, where we only converted at 2 to 3%, maybe 5, was like really good. It was always like, hey, here's a name and number and you figure it out. That's basically it. This is such a superior format. And again, I think our conversion, and I realize that is high. I think our conversion at 20 to 30% rolling, that's where we're at, is high. But I also think, again, it's because we treat these as referrals and we're going through and we're really putting the energy and effort in. And again, when somebody doesn't respond to me, I'm still calling and following up with them. I'm sending them a package. I'm spending the money, right? Like, I've already invested in the lead. So now I'm spending the money to convert the lead. And oftentimes we think it's a layup. It may not be a layup. I have one seller hub lead that we're going to be listing in February that came in a few months ago, and they took my initial call. They said, let's meet. And then they canceled day of the meeting with me, which is fine. And then I proceeded to follow up with them and they kept not responding. And I knew that they had intent to sell, but I knew they were also going through some life changes. And so I wasn't going to be pressuring. So I followed up with them every week, text, phone call, etc., email. And I literally sent them a holiday warming, like a holiday greeting card, generic happy holidays, to their house. And they called me the other day and were like, we're still going to list. We were just figuring it out. And we appreciate your follow up. But I hadn't heard from them in months. So again, If it was a referral and somebody dropped off, you would still think they're going to go with you. So continue to follow up. My rule and the way I treat it with my team is until somebody says stop or no, we're not interested, I'm not giving up. And I think that printed media, we add them all into our online email campaign. We also make sure that we print out sales and send it to them. Physically sending out a CMA on their house, like I still print those and mail it to them, right, with a cover letter. I also do postcards to them, add them to our database. I think those are huge things. And our holiday card goes to my entire database. It's very generic, just as happy holidays, but it goes right out after Thanksgiving. We get a lot of business out of it. People that forgot about us come back. So,
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember that when people are selling, they've already talked to us, they've talked to our team, they've spent 20, 30 minutes, multiple conversations letting us know they have intent to sell. And it's not always about us as the agent. People are generally going through life changes as they sell. So it's important just to stay top of mind with these clients, with these referrals, if you will, these appointments, and touching them on all kind of facets. And the holiday card is one simple way of just saying, hey, I'm still here whenever you're ready to sell. And just staying top of mind for when they are ready, they have information, they have your information in front of them and they're ready to give you a call eventually. Staying top of mind, definitely important with these clients. And I really do love what you said about until someone says, no, I'm not interested, you continue to follow up, because otherwise, as far as they're still interested in selling. So
right. So you guys know too, we use Follow Up Boss, use whatever CRM you use, but we have everybody tagged in FUB from Seller Hub and we track it and we follow up and our pods follow up and all that information is going out to them. But the other thing when we talk about that follow-up procedure is we track if the house gets listed. And so we're constantly checking the MLS to see if it got listed. And we know that if they haven't said no, they haven't said stop, and it's not listed in the private, we have a private listing network here in Chicago. If it's not in the private listing network or it's not on the public MLS, we're good. We're going to continue to follow up with them because when somebody tells me 0 to 3 months, that's a quick turnaround. But most of these leads say 6 months. And 6 months, really, when you've been in a place for 20 plus years, is realistically 6 months to a year. And
mhm.
but we as agents forget about people and give up because we think they said 6 months, it's been 6 months, they haven't sold and they haven't responded to me. So they're not serious. No, I've been emotionally attached to a house for 20 years or more. I'm going to take my time to sell. And I think that's the other value proposition, especially when you have the data. Like when it's somebody that we know that's been there a long time, one of our value adds is we say, hey, we have a stager that can come in and help stage your house. We have a person that does estate sales if you guys are interested in selling off items, right? To help you out. We also have movers that we work with. So we can help you through this process of getting your house ready. We realize that you raised your family here. And
Yeah.
this is a lot to go through and a lot to process. And I had another online lead that was basically initial contact said 0 to 3 months. They said, we're not ready. She said she was going through some stuff. I sold the house 2.5 years later. And in my online review, she said, I was so grateful because Corey was so patient and listened to me as a human being and realized that I raised my 3 kids here. My husband passed away. I was doing it all alone. This was a lot and he made it easy. So I think that is so critical that you guys understand again, you have to bring the value to them and give them time because especially if you've been there 20 years, that's a huge commitment. My fastest seller hub lead turnarounds are people that have owned a house less than 5 years because less than 5 years, you're not emotionally attached. More than 5 years, a lot has happened in your life, plain and simple.
Absolutely. I'm curious, where do you feel that you and your team most effectively convert these listings into, or these appointments into listings? Is it the speed to follow up? Is it the follow up itself? Is it the expertise? Is it the relationship building? Or is it a combination of kind of all the above?
I think it's a combination of all the above. I don't think you're going to win in speed to lead because a lot of people don't like to be harassed, as they say. I think for us, it's coming from a place of adding value, building that relationship and being supportive. And I think that's going to help you guys win. If you don't have already, and I want to be clear, if you don't have a vendor list, create a vendor list right now. You should have a handyman, plumber, HVAC, roofers, general contractors. If you don't have that in your, whether you're a team lead or an individual agent, if you don't have something like that prepared, create that. That's a huge value add. And what I find fascinating, and this always blows my mind, is we give out that contractor list and we get nothing back from them. So let me be clear, they're not giving us money back, these contractors, vendors. It's pure help our clients have the best possible level of service from these vendors. And what I find fascinating is I'll give this list to potential sellers, and the seller will be like, we're thinking about it, I've met them in person, we're gonna take our time. And then my contractors will be like, I'm at the house and they came from you. And I'm like, oh, so they are thinking about selling and they're getting their house ready using my contractors. So that's an in for me to follow up and say, hey, how are things going?
Yeah.
Without disclosing that my contractors told me that he's working there on the suggestions I made to get the house ready. A lot of times they'll respond, good, we're just prepping our house, still working through it. We'll be in contact. Great. But it's my vendor. And then my vendor's in there saying, hey, Corey's amazing. I know I came through Corey. I hope you guys sell the house with him because he's amazing. He helps a lot of my clients come from him. He's a great realtor, and having those relationships because those vendors are invaluable to help you still with that. So to answer your question, long-winded is I think it's really our approach of being a resource, and consistent follow-up is what helps us win these sellers versus it's one time they don't answer the phone and they're done. And I think that's how all people who do any sort of lead on the internet perceive as a person doesn't answer or respond to me, it's done. I've sold more homes, and just to be clear, we're approaching 900 homes, my team, but I've sold more homes where people have not responded to me for weeks and weeks and multiple texts and calls than I've sold homes that people quickly responded. Because again, our business is based off of the internet because most of my top agents are not from here. So they have to build their own book of business.
Yep. And excuse me, and don't give up. Basically, keep calling them. There's intent there. Also, there was something that was said that if you give someone something, they're more than likely to give you something back. And with referring them a contractor, a plumber, you've given them, you made it easy for them to be able to do what they need to do. And generally they're going to reciprocate by giving you their business back. It goes hand in hand.
And I think too, I know you're probably going to ask me another question, but this is important too for everybody. If you do a good job presenting yourself as a local expert and you give them materials and you add value to their lives, you would be surprised at how many neighbors I've sold off of listings before we get the listing. Meaning, Ashley's thinking about selling her house, and she tells Bob down the street, who she's friends with, we're thinking about selling. They don't have a realtor. And she says, hey, I was really impressed by this local team. We're not quite ready. And then Bob calls me and goes, hey, I want to beat Ashley to market. So can you list my place? Again, why did we get the listing? Because we added value for that seller versus I just met with a realtor. Realtors are realtors. That's first. Oh, I met this realtor and it was the best realtor I met because likely the person that sold them the house, they haven't talked to in 20 plus years, depending on the situation. So.
Yep, absolutely. I think I'll ask one more question. Again, just want to remind everyone, if you do have any more thoughts, questions, please put it in the chat as we wind down here. So I guess my next question would be, so obviously you have these seller appointments coming into your inbox for you and your team, and obviously that's allowed your team to do more business. But in addition to that, do you find that there's just more time for prospecting now that you have these appointments delivered into your inbox? Or what's that kind of look like for your team's production going into 2026 and just having these high quality seller appointments set for you in your inbox? And where do you see that going into the new year?
I think to answer your question, I think our personal goal is 300 homes sold next year. With the current size of the team, if we add in more people, that goal will raise. But I think that by instead of us having to do other online lead sources for seller leads, because this is such a great product and it's such a great format for us, and we're finding such success with it, it's allowing us to focus in on these sellers, really generate a great relationship with them and relationship build, which then is enabling us to have a solid plan for when we list their house and get more business out of it. My view on listings, and again, every coach is different, but my personal view is at the end of the day, every listing you get should generate a buyer or a seller out of it. You should get something out of it. So with our marketing strategy and with the way homes are still flying off the shelves in the suburbs of Chicago, so, average market time is still quick in the suburbs of Chicago versus I know there are other parts of the country, it's longer. Our entire marketing strategy, once we get that listing, is to make sure that we leverage that listing to get more buyers and sellers out of it. So once we have that listing, photos done, et cetera, we're circle prospecting around it, which again, if we didn't have the initial listing from you guys, wouldn't be able to do that. We are also running those open houses and putting all the showings in those open house windows with two brokers there. Again, if you're an individual agent, it's different, But for me, I have always two brokers at the opening weekend of every open house, which people might say that's an overcommitment. But my personal view on it is when you have two brokers and you have that big of a team, the neighbors who are nosy hire you because no other real estate team has two people there. And what is the investment of 2 hours extra of one of my brokers? It's very little investment for a large return for us. So I think that this opportunity that we have with Seller Hub and the leads we have and what we have in the pipeline and what we're building is going to make 26 great. And I also think like all you guys need to understand again is like constant follow up with the leads. You're building a pipeline. Okay. I have in my personal database now, I'm up to 14,000 people in my personal database, not my team's, my personal. So I have 14,000 people that, we're following up with and our systems are following up with. And that's what you guys have to understand is if you get, let's call it over the course of a year, 100 or 200 Seller Hub appointments and you convert 4 or 5 of them, that's still really good return on your investment. But the 4 or 5 you convert are now off of that 100, but you still probably have another 20 to 30 that could convert in year 2, and you're still adding in. So you'll get busier and busier as you build the pipeline, as long as you do the important part, which is follow up. Again, do not stop following up with leads until they tell you to stop, or they tell you not interested, go pound sand, or use some other word towards you. Because at the end of the day, until they tell you that, it's not a dead lead, plain and simple.
Yeah. And I think the biggest takeaway for agents that might be struggling to convert with these appointments after talking with Corey is to really just make sure you're positioning yourself as the local area market expert, do your research, avoid repeating the same questions that our team has already asked, and focus on getting the in-person appointment. Never stop following up. And for those team leaders who maybe have 1, 2 agents, you heard Corey, he went from 8 to 15 this year. And that was that was contributed to Seller Appointment Hub being able to supply these newer agents that didn't have the sphere of influence in Chicago to get business. So yeah, so I'd love to just again open it up for any questions. Corey, if you have any closing thoughts, would love for you to share them. But again, last opportunity for those of you on to ask Corey any questions.
I would also, if you guys don't have relationships with local businesses besides our contractor one, I didn't cover that, but we have great relationships with local businesses. So like one of our favorite things to do is when we have a few appointments in the same area is often we'll invite those sellers as they become our clients to that local business to eat for either a happy hour, dinner, build the relationships and ask them to bring friends. And that's again, just leveraging opportunities because look at every opportunity as an opportunity for additional opportunities instead of just, oh, this is just a single lead. This is a referral source. So leverage everything you're getting to grow. One of my favorite activities when we started, and I started doing personally apartment rentals off of Craigslist. Y'all want to go back? That's how I built my business. But when we were doing apartment rentals, I would always, the day of move-in, I would always bring them food. And that was like a huge hit. So now when we're selling a person's place, we always on move, like the week of move out, we're like, how can we help you? What can we do? What can take off your plate? Hey, let us get dinner on Tuesday so you don't have to worry about it. And we'll deliver food from a local restaurant. And that adds value to them. And they appreciate that. And they always talk about that with neighbors and friends, like stressful the moving week, but it was less stressful because Corey and his team bought us dinner 2 nights. And what is that? $50 to $100 investment again, but you get so much business out of it. So give more than you take and you will receive way more, plain and simple.
I love that. Good reminder. All right. I think you killed it. You knocked it out of the park. Nobody had questions. That's a good sign that I guess we articulated everything well enough. Corey, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. I got a lot of value from it, and I hope everyone else feels the same way. If anybody on here has questions after the fact, please feel free to reach out to myself, our customer support, and we can figure out how to get you an answer to those questions. But again, Corey, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we can have you on again soon and we can continue to kill it with our appointments. We forgot to talk about, you're part of our verified seller appointment or leads. We forgot to
Correct.
cover that. So maybe next time we can have you back on board, talk a little bit more about that and the difference between those and the appointments and what that looks like. But otherwise, again, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And if you guys need anything, just reach out. I'm easily accessible. There's this thing, Google me, and that's all you got to do, and we'll be good. So I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Have a great day.
Bye.